Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sabrina Young, and I'm with Young's Daughters Funeral Home. And today I get the pleasure to introduce a friend. His name is Andy Rhodes, and he is with Impression Vaults. I'm really excited to have you here, Andy. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you much. I'm looking forward to having a chat today, and I was really honored at the invite, especially after learning a lot more about you and your team.
Well, I'm excited. So let's get into who you are and tell me about your business.
Great. Um, I guess if you want to ask who I am, I have two little kids. So I've got a 5-year-old little boy, and I have a 20-month little girl, and she's kind of a miracle child. I don't want to go into too much about it, but she's one of the biggest blessings that we've had, and I think that's what I try to remember about who I am. And then business wise, I've done a lot of things. My joke as of 2 years ago was I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grow up. So I had to do a lot. And I had different companies in the construction consulting. I traveled the world helping people build businesses. And then in May of 2023, 2024, I got a phone call and it was right in line with Impression Vault. We were just in prototyping phase and we had made one for a young widow. And she called me. I was sitting in this chair right here. And she called me up and said, Andy, we gave it to my daughter last night. My daughter put her hand in it and she talked to her dad for a half an hour. I still get goosebumps when I'm telling you this story because it was right after that phone call that I was sitting in this chair. I said, I think I know what I'm supposed to do when I grow up. So I have since transitioned out of all of those companies. We've made Impression Vault. Um, I've made Impression Vault both my mission on a personal level and then also my business focus. And over the past couple of years, we've had, I guess, the honor of working with people like Sabrina. And launching earlier this year, we've already gotten into 3 countries. And I think the most important part about that is all of the people that we're able to help with it. Does
Yeah,
that
that's
answer a little
amazing.
bit about? Perfect.
I'm excited because your story tells so much and the inspiration behind your story and being able to give that gift of a handprint. Tell us like I don't want people to hear it from you. Describe your the impressions vault. Describe is it how do you pronounce it? El Morial?
Al Morial.
El
Yeah.
Morial.
So with Impression Vault, and this is sometimes a little bit confusing. So with Impression Vault, our mission is to help funeral homes and to help families capture an impression of a person's hand. And so we're doing that by a phone scan. So this idea was in my head 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, to capture someone's hand or to capture that so that we could create an memorial, you had to build a big scanning device. And it was all this equipment, and it was really a hard thing. And just 2 years ago, there have been so many advances in phones and technology that we can do, and by I say we, our partner funeral homes, they'll do a scan of a person's hand. So Impression Vault, our mission is to offer that through our partners and then to store that for the family at no cost and no obligation so that any point in the future they can come back and have connection with that person who's no longer here. And that leads us right into Almorial. So when we were trying to figure out what do we do with those hand scans, uh, a wooden plaque just didn't sound right. A memorial hand carving didn't sound right. And so we had to create a new word. And if you've never created a new word, I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's not as easy or as fun as you think it is. The the different combinations of words out there, we spent days on this, and we ended up with almorial. So it came from some Latin for almus, which means memories, or excuse me, almus means nourishing, kind, and fostering. And then memoria is memory. And then if you go way back, I'm talking 300, 400 years, there's an old English name called Almory, Almory. And the meaning of that name was the keeper of memories. And so we have named it an almorial. And let me show you what an almorial is. What we do, if they want, is we take that hand scan that we capture and we create a custom carving. They're all hand finished that you can put your hand back in that person who's no longer here. We've seen it um, help a lot of children. We've seen it with parents. Um, we've even started doing them for people who aren't passed yet on the pre-need side, um, because you don't have to be gone to have family members who aren't next to you proximity wise and have connection. So that's why we have the Almorial. And then the mission of Impression Vault though is let's try to help capture these because we have a limited time to do that. And then on a personal level, I just think it's really, really cool for us to be able to store those. And it reminds me of that Chinese proverb, right? When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. So capturing these today, um, I don't know if it'll happen, but when my son is older, it's going to be really neat that he has the opportunity to get his grandparents and then to get his parents and then he can put his and if he chooses to have a family then they can create that sense of where they came from and not just on paper or not just knowing it but being able to touch that part of history and connect. So
I really
um,
like how you mentioned that you don't pay for the scans, right? That's just funeral homes have a courtesy gift where if products are available, we do our best to capture and to fit that in the event that the families do want to purchase. So I appreciate that about your business that you don't charge for the scans. You give that as here's the scan, and if you decide to order, it'll turn into a beautiful piece of artwork. And so I really like that. I also liked when you talked about the problem in the funeral and the memorial industry, that you were trying to solve that problem and offering this. How often did you see that it's a problem to have disconnection amongst the lineages or amongst families?
I've had a lot of I have a lot of friends whose parents have passed, and trying to talk or connect with them on a deeper level. Um, and you hear people, they're attached to things, right? I'll give you a great example. One of my one of my grandfathers on my mom's side, he was in the army in World War II, and I recently found in my junk things from childhood. I don't know if you've ever had those boxes. They follow you house to house to house, and um, when you're older and you finally go through it. But this is a lighter that he carried in the war, and it's got his initials engraved in it. I don't put lighter fluid in it. It's not for that. It's connection, right? It's the little things that we can touch that create the memories or evoke the memories. And a couple of things when I talk about a problem or something that I saw missing um, in the funeral industry. So as a newcomer to this, I am amazed, I am humbled by the generosity and the caring spirit of funeral directors, of funeral staff, um, of that care team that comes around to help a family through this often tragic. The emotional connection that they offer. And I think that sometimes there's a disconnect with consumers or the public at large that this is just a time for them to sell me a lot of stuff. And in talking, because I did about a year of talking to people before I told them what we were doing, and I was trying to ask questions. I think one of the things that people in the industry don't like is that that things cost money, right? And there's a whole bunch of questions about what should I do and how should I do it. And um, one thing that kept coming up is most funeral directors, most people in the funeral industry, they don't want to have to sell more stuff. They just want to give families a hug. And when I took in all of this information, it became really important to me that we don't charge for it, that it is that gift. It's not something that you have to sell. It's
Yeah, I
something that
love
you can say here.
I love when we first got together and we started talking. I am an educator. My job is to educate as a funeral director all of the products and things that are in the world that we have to offer. That's why I hunt out and I search for companies like yours because having that free availability to scan and to then introduce it to the family, even if it's with a pamphlet inside the plethora of things that we give the families, letting them know that their prints have been scanned. I think that's so important. And you're right. Funeral directors, we don't want to sell. We want to give hugs and kisses and love and embrace. But first and foremost, we have to educate our families what they do have available to them. And I don't want anybody coming to young daughters saying, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known about impressions. And I was like, wow. Well, now, when people bring it to my attention, I'm like, well, let's get an interview. Let's get it started. I want to be the educator. If the families seek these things, I want them to feel comfortable that if there's a will, there's a way, and Sabrina's going to figure it out. So I'm excited to offer your services. I'm really excited to learn about your handprint scannings and offering that through Young's Daughters. Um, how do people, if they wanted to, if they didn't already capture that at that time, is there a way to go back and try to get handprints and then input that into your system in case if they didn't capture that with another funeral home?
That's one of the hardest questions that I've had to deal with in starting this is to have those people say, I wish this was available 6 years ago. I wish this was available. I wish I knew last month. Um, Secret. I've got our team working behind the scenes to try to be able to do that off of some pictures, off of some memorabilia or basically pictures or video that you may have of your loved one. Without giving away all of the secrets, when we do that scan, when a funeral director or a funeral technician or they do that scan for the family, we're capturing over 400, 500 still shots of that hand. And then it takes my team, I hired them out of the video game industry. It takes them 4 to 5 hours sometimes to take those, stitch them together, and get them into something that's lifelike. Um, get to move the fingers, adjust all of that. And from there, we do a carving of it, and then they're hand finished. So my team is spending 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 hours on that hand finishing. Back to your question, can we do it if we didn't get a scan? Um, I would love to tell you yes. The challenge is I can't guarantee what the quality is based on the pictures. And behind the scenes, I'm working really hard to try to push our team so that we can get that down where it doesn't take 20 hours of work. They don't have to manually recreate everything in there to get the 3D depth that would make this meaningful. Um, we've tried it in the past, and what comes out isn't it doesn't provide the touch, right? The reason that we focus on wood as our primary medium is because it's warm. Um, when you touch that, it brings the different memories up. If you have something that we've tried, but it isn't quite right, you're not going to get that same sense of peace or connection with the person that's gone.
What would you, so being that you have a lot of pivots and maneuvering and trying to make sure that you can make this product the best that it can be, what has surprised you most about launching impression vaults? Like, it seems like there's a lot of dynamics that go into creating your business. So, but what were you most surprised about?
Surprised. I'm most humbled, I think, by the reaction of a lot of funeral directors, by people similar to yourself who don't want a family to say, "I wish I would have known," who jump right in and say, "Wow, I wish I had this of my father. I wish I had this of my mom. I want to make sure that nobody else misses out on that opportunity." Um, I think that's what humbles me, right? And then hearing from families where we've made these. Um, uh, let's see, how do I say this? In all of my previous work and career stuff, I've never gotten that. feeling of being able to care for somebody in such a way, being able to offer someone something that is so meaningful to them. Um, and that's something that we take so seriously, that we cherish, right? Everybody in our team cherishes that. Now, surprising. Um, I'll tell you something interesting on the surprise side. I um I didn't quite know that each funeral home has such a different plethora of offerings and that they don't have your mindset of being an educator. And that there's some places um, that they come in and you get the same thing and it's like it's like here's your Happy Meal. And I know that you may want a Big Mac, but that's not available because all we do is Happy Meals. And trying to work with all funeral homes to offer this um, because the way we set it up to keep that as a free scan, right? The number of people who've told me that our business model is crazy, um, and the number of people who've said, "Well, you got to charge something, or they're not going to value it," um, and it has to cost something to have meaning. That's kind of been surprising to me, and I grin, right? Because this may not, um, this may not grow financially super fast. But you know what it is going to do? It's going to give people the opportunity to have that connection when they're not there, right? And we don't have to make that decision in the middle of one of their biggest crisis or one of their biggest um, um, troubled times when they've just lost somebody that they love and care about. And giving them the ability to come back a month or 6 months later, or have this available for a celebration of life that you do in a year. Um, the number of people that have pushed back on that in the industry and said, well, they're not going to buy it now. Like, why are we going to do it? That's been kind of surprising. And I don't know if that's just the mentality that we sometimes get into because it's our job, right? And we get really into routines. The other interesting, I guess, surprise um, has been when people jump in with both feet, when a funeral home jumps in with both feet, and it is top to bottom. We're going to offer this. This is going to mean something to people. Hearing the stories, hearing the feedback, right? And we had an awesome person call us from upper northern Seattle, and they said, Andy, I'm sitting with a family, and I explained it. Said, here's what we do. There's no cost, and they kind of sat back and they thought about it, and they said, you know. I don't know if if this speaks to us. I don't know if this will help us to connect now, but knowing it's here for my kids or my kids' kids, that is amazing. And yes, we really want to do it because it's that thing for the future where we don't know. Um,
I
lots
love
of
that it's going
surprises.
to be a legacy. I love that, it's a piece of artwork that has reflection, has meaning within your family, within your lineage, or it maybe it doesn't even have to be blood. Maybe it could be your best friend, your battle buddy, somebody who picked you up off the ground on the battlefield, and that's a memento that you get to keep. And so I truly stand behind your product. I'm really excited to offer it. I think there's a lot of connections and meaningfulness behind it. I also, because we are a dual uh where there we are the collect all families. In the industry, it's still very sometimes segregated racially. And so I have found that when we opened our doors in 2021, that we were going to be the everybody family. So we have Spanish speaking families, and we have English, and we've had German families, and we've had all these different collections. And I love that your product is versatile to meet the languages of our families, whatever whomever we're serving. So seeing that it could be in Spanish, we have a very heavy population of Spanish families here. I get to praise that I'm only my 4% Guanajuatan Mexican, but I chuckle about that because my family was on my father's side was very proud of it. So embracing that, even though it would be an internal thing for myself to have for my father, that would be a fun thing. So I'm really excited. I do want people to know that your products are offered here. If they do want your products, it'll be launching on our website as soon as we can get that partnership going. We're really excited. So Andy, I want to thank you so much for what you're doing for the funeral industry, for our profession. I appreciate that you're an educator and connector as a legacy grower. My hat's off to you, and I wish you and your business abundance of blessings and joy to you and your family and your beautiful kids.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time, and I'm here to help. So always reach out. And just a quick message to anybody watching this: there is a difference who you go to and who helps you through that process. And in the short amount of time I've gotten to know Sabrina and her team, right? What an amazing group that, as she said, gives the hugs and the kisses and is welcoming of everybody, because sometimes we don't see that. So I want to say thank you back to you, and keep up the amazing work, right? For everybody who doesn't know, Sabrina and her team got an award recently, and I'll let her tell you about that differently. But sometimes um, sometimes we need to celebrate how we do that, and we need to take a few minutes just to be grateful for not only the opportunity to help families, but also for how we do it. So just a quick congratulations, and I hope that you and your team pause for a second to say, I think we're doing this right.
I do. I pray and I thank God every day. I put the key in the door. I'm like, I still can't believe it's here. We're only 5 years old and it still feels like we're in the baby steps, but we are, God has truly been in the story and I'm excited for that. And the partnerships, I can truly tell when there's a strong connection that's going to support our families. I know every family that walks in, they have a testimony and they're like, wow, Serena, you really did it. And, even though I'm not working in your company, being able to be a supplier to something that's so meaningful, that's where I think the overall abundance of it takes a village to really bury a loved one, and it's partnerships like yours is gonna really set us apart and for the future and the legacies to come. I'm really excited about it.
All right, thank you. Have an awesome day.
You too. Bye bye.